spitting syllables, soliloquies so simple as these.
It's Reckin' and Rappin', a podcast with a purpose to save humanity and enlighten the dark. I'm your host, King Cooper. I learned a new term, Hopecore. Since the powers that be prefer to seed fear and derision, we must work within the system, spreading hope. Have bad words, clean them up, and take back the streets. For more, we turn to our main man on the streets, Shakespeare. Sonnet number 8 uses comparisons with music and marriage, chiding a young man for choosing to be single. Here is Shakespeare's Sonnet number 8. Music to hear. Why hearest thou music sadly? Sweets with sweets war not, joy delights in joy. Why lovest thou that which thou receivest not gladly, or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy? If the true concord of well-tuned sounds by unions married do offend thine ear, they do but sweetly chide thee who confounds in singleness the parts that thou shouldest bear. Mark how one string, sweet husband to another, strikes each in each by mutual ordering, resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in one pleasing note do sing, whose speechless song, being many, seeming one, sings this to thee, thou single wilt prove none. Let's wreck is written. Music to hear, isn't it? Why hearest thou music sadly? This music is like the song of life. There is an order to the circle of life. Circle, for instance, is a shape. By living, you enjoy much life has to offer. Not paying it forward seems as though something has gone wrong. Sweets with sweets war not, joy delights in joy. If life is sweet, then keep it going. If joyful, then spread the joy. This line seems like a good place to cover the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. It means be happy, not jealous, when one is lifted up, because as one goes, all follow. Why lovest thou that which thou receivest not gladly? This seems like the young man is clinging to his single life. But why is he so attached to that life without fulfilling its role? Not moving forward is receiving it not gladly. Or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy. That or else is a logical statement. He's claiming you receivest not gladly, or you receive with pleasure something that annoys you. Same concept as before, happy to receive some parts of life, not the whole. If the concord of well-tuned sounds, we're getting into the musical accompaniment now. Concord means agreement or harmony between people or groups. We also know the sweet concord grapes. Harmony of well-tuned sounds. By unions married do offend thine ear. This single line can be seen as the subject of the sonnet. Marriage offend thine ear. If putting music together doesn't sound good to you, then they do but sweetly chide thee. Chide means scold or rebuke. Remember, rebuke is disapproval. Who confounds in singleness the parts that thou shouldest bear? Confound means confuse. If marriage offends thine ear, marriage itself will prove your ideas wrong, leaving a single person confused as to what their role in life should be now. What are you going to do for the next 20, 40, 60 years? Party? Make a great work of art? That won't make you happy and fill the hole in your soul. There was also an ABAB rhyme with sound, ear, confound, bear. Sound and ear is part of the musical metaphor. Mark how one string, sweet husband to another, mark, take notice, string, music, and husband is wordplay with the married notes. Strike each in each by mutual ordering. I take this like the circle of life. One thing leads to another, and all in its time. Resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in one pleasing note do sing. Sire is dad, so mom, dad, and child play together as a chord of music would. The individuals come together to make a new sound. Whose speechless song, being many, seeming one. Speechless song seems to me when we say there are many meanings, more being said that isn't said. Many seeming one, we covered last week e pluribus unum, out of many, one, written on the United States Great Seal. Sings this to thee, thou single wilt prove none. We've seen a lot how the last one or two lines will summarize the sonnet or drive home a particular point. His point is to not remain single. Thank you, Shakespeare, for that valuable lesson. We'll be moving on to rap now. This is the song Angels by Grip. Threw all my morals out the window chasing dollar bills. Rap was a hobby still that led me to some solid deals. I'm stressed, the homies be like, brah, you gotta chill. But if you was bearing all this weight, you probably feel like you bodybuild. They hit me like, I seen you on TV with such and such, so I'm the man when the fam need a couple bucks. Truth is, I got it, but I ain't got it. But still end up doing a solid just cause I'm solid. Time to break down the bars. Threw all my morals out the window chasing dollar bills. This rap game will make you lose yourself, and any other way of saying sold my soul to the devil. Rap was a hobby still that led me to some solid deals. Art starts out as a hobby, something you do for fun or pleasure. Setting off with the intention to succeed or create business prospects means you'll likely fail, because in the beginning and for a long time, it's just you and the craft. Similar to bodybuilding mentioned next. I'm stressed. The homies be like, brah, you gotta chill. But if you was bearing all this weight, you'd probably feel like you bodybuild. At this point, the artist is the top of the pyramid. Or, similar to how we've discussed about the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, there's pressure to move forward, do new things, to provide for those under the umbrella, or be worthy of the crown. All this stress makes them stronger if they can bear it. Also note in the first 3 lines the rhymes bills, still, chill, and even build. Next, people see the celebrity and ask for money. Truth is, I got it, but I ain't got it, but still end up doing a solid just because I'm solid. Got it and solid rhyme, but there's wordplay with doubling up each in the sentence, similar to how Shakespeare said in Sonnet number 8, Zimmy Zam Boomafoo. He said, sweets with sweets war not, joy delights in joy. The message of this last line is what stood out to me. Got it, but don't got it. When you have a lot of money, you don't leave it lying around in cash. It could get damaged or stolen. Plus, inflation. For top of the pyramid types, they don't necessarily have money, but represent an idea that others, the bottom of the pyramid, believe in and will supply their money. Then, solid because I'm solid. Doing a solid would be a favor, and being solid is reliable. Please take a moment to subscribe or follow the channel. Now it's time for the Wreck of the Week. Brr, brr, brr. What's wrecking King Cooper's week? Trees. Springtime is coming, and I know humans don't think that's the case yet. Yes, we will probably have some cold days before the spring equinox. Still, if you are going to get anything accomplished this spring, then plans need to start motion. And this week, I had trees arriving. First, 6 peach trees to replace our fallen brethren. Some other time, I could go into why they were lost. There was a delivery of avocados, one to grow outside and one to pollinate, a Cavendish banana, and finally, my first foyer into citrus fruit, an orange, lemon, and a lime tree. I've been supplying them my blood, sweat, and tears. But with all this wrecking, we need to calm down with some meditations. That's Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. We're on number 15. From Maximus, self-mastery, immune to any passing whim, good cheer in all circumstances, including illness, a nice balance of character, both gentle and dignified, an uncomplaining energy for what needs to be done, the trust he inspired in everyone that he meant what he said and was well-intentioned in all he did, proof against surprise or panic, in nothing either hurried or hesitant, never short of resource, never downcast or cringing, or, on the other hand, angry or suspicious, generosity in works, and a forgiving and truthful nature, the impression he gave of undeviating rectitude as a path chosen rather than enforced, the fact that no one would ever have thought himself belittled by him or presumed to consider himself superior to him, and a pleasant humor. The meditations are starting to get longer, and in my book there's a sort of verse number to the side that might be useful in the future. This reading had 3 verses. We'll go over some of the lines. Self-mastery. That's what we work on at Wrecking and Rapping, keeping our minds and tongues sharp, and then we learn how and when to wield them. Immune to any passing whim. This is a pillar in Stoicism that emotions will come and go. Don't let them lead you into judgments with lasting consequences. Good cheer in all circumstances, including illness. A couple years back, I got real sick. I think it was COVID, then became bronchitis. During that time, my queen understood I was sick, but said I didn't have to be mean. That's when I remembered a line I read while saying the rosary: dignity in suffering. If things are bad, there's no reason to spread that unhappiness. Energy for what needs to be done. Recognize the important tasks in life, an ABC hierarchy: what needs to be done, what we'd like to do, and if there's time. Well-intentioned in all that he did. Last week, I talked about not exaggerating my speech or leading people on with a lie. That's part of being well-intentioned, intending to always do what's right to build trust in others that you are reliable. Proof against surprise or panic. In nothing, either hurried or hesitant. A lot of tenets of Stoicism here. To be unmoved by good or bad. As Eminem said, I don't smile, I don't frown, get too up or get too down. Being overwhelmed with surprise or panic can have a physical effect of shaking, which can cause error in movement, error in judgment. The same will happen when being hurried, and hesitant is dangerous. Some situations call for decisive action. Delay can mean death. A forgiving and truthful nature. As with well-intentioned, he's building an empire. At the least, we're building social relationships. We need to forgive because others can't be fearful of making a mistake, leading them to hide or be untruthful. The truth will set us all free. Undeviating rectitude as a path chosen rather than enforced. This is for the top of the pyramid. Being a leader means to lead. This addresses how one leads. Enforced would mean beating others into submission to do your will, while leading is to make a decision the others know you are well-intentioned and truthful, so they willingly follow the path. Here's a long one. The fact that no one would ever have thought himself belittled by him or presumed to consider himself superior to him. The leader does not talk down to subjects or act better than. We are all equal. A great leader is followed because they are doing good for the followers, not because he says so or a belief the leader is born closer to God. Life is a journey of struggle. We all want to make it out of here alive. It's not helpful to make others feel weak, and like the lion and the mouse, we never know who will be an asset. Finally, a pleasant humor. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. That's enough meditating. Moving on to This Week in History. I've got bad news for everyone. We're getting rid of This Week in History. I still plan to do history, but the This Week part is not conducive to my concord. I've got this book, The Human Journey, a concise introduction to world history by Kevin Riley. It covers from prehistory to 1450 AD. As with all subjects, it's good to do a brief overview to give understanding of what was happening with who, when. Once we agree on a basic history, and there's no outright correct history, it's written by the victors. A story can change with new culture, then changes back with errors as those people are replaced. At that point, I think we're focusing in on picking a side to go more in depth at a certain time. But what caught my eye in this history book was when talking about prehistoric people, it said they'd be scanning the backs of beetles for signs of a cold winter. I believe people would do such things and they might bear fruit. The author's point being, humans have been successful in a number of environments. People that live in one part of the world could live different lives than those on the other side of the donut. It wasn't until recently humans became globetrotters. Adding time into the equation writes a story. I heard that humans can smell water in the ground from an oncoming rain. better than sharks can smell blood in the water. So further and maybe smaller amounts of water. Smelling rain is a feature of humans and had me wondering if our bodies could sense oncoming cold. I look at the trees. Some have begun budding. Calendar is effective as well. But I vote that we bump February up to 30 days. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a comment. I'd love for you to join the conversation. We'll be reading the Bible next. Amen. 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 In Psalm number 7, King David expresses confidence in God's protection from his enemies. Here is Psalm number 7. O Lord my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me, and deliver me. Lest he tear my soul like a lion, rending it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yea, let him tread down my life upon the earth, and lay mine honor in the dust. Selah. Arise, O Lord, in thine anger, lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and awaken for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about, and for their sakes, therefore, return thou on high. The Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness, and according to mine integrity that is in me. O let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just. For the righteous God trieth the hearts and reins. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. Behold, he travelleth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. He made a pit, and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own pat. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and will sing praise to the name of the Lord Most High. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. All right, let's go through some of those lines. In verse 1, he says, save from them that persecute me. Then verse 2, lest he tear my soul like a lion, rending it in pieces. Bad things will happen. Rend is a synonym for tear. In verses 3 through 5, O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. This is a logical argument. If I've done bad, then do unto me bad. Then David asks God to return and judge the wicked, saying in verse 7, so shall the congregation of the people compass about thee. For their sakes, therefore, return thou on high. In Psalm number 5, the word compass appeared, compass him as with a shield. At that time, I interpreted compass as the device that points north, so I researched what the Bible would have used compass to mean. It has many meanings: to surround, encircle, or go around. It can also mean to obtain, accomplish, or intend. David asks God to come back, and the people will gather round. Notice he says it's for their sake. Left to their own devices, these humans will destroy themselves. While God is passing judgment, David says in verse 8, judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness and according to mine integrity that is in me. I think that's honorable. In verse 10, my defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. I describe God as the good. Here, David says, God saveth the upright in heart. Verse 12, if he turn not, he will whet his sword. For the turning, I don't know if that's the sinner needs to turn from his ways or God turned to judge the sinner. Then, whetting his sword whet spelled W-H-E-T, would likely be sharpening a sword on a whetstone. I also think the sword wet with blood spilled. It's just paint to me. Verse 14, Behold, he travelleth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. David brings up these charges. They sin, do bad, and lie. Verse 15, He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made your bed, now sleep in it. And it reminds me of the expression that someone is digging themselves deeper, all this with grave connotations. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pat. Pat means forehead. What goes around comes around. And verse 17 ends with us singing, Praise to the name of the Lord Most High. We can move on to philosophy. Did somebody say philosophy? We're reading the 50 philosophy ideas you really need to know. We're up to number 18, the categorical imperative. The book gives an example of an assassin chasing your friend, and they ask your friend's location. You know the answer, but giving it to the hunter will cause harm. Should you tell the truth or a lie? German philosopher Immanuel Kant believes the morally right thing to do is to tell the truth. Not lying is a categorical imperative, something we are obliged to do unconditionally and regardless of the consequences. Kant attempts to explain what a categorical imperative is by contrasting it with what it isn't, a hypothetical imperative. To begin, let's view an imperative as a command. Stop smoking. Justifying the order are a list of hypotheticals. If you want to be healthy or if you want to save money, then stop smoking. If you aren't concerned about health or money, the order carries no weight. With a categorical imperative, there are no ifs. Don't lie. Duty for duty's sake, with total disregard for any consequences foreseen or unforeseen. This is opposed to consequence-based systems of morality. Here's a quote from Kant. Act only in accordance with an imperative that you can at the same time will to become a universal law, meaning acts are moral only if it accords with a rule we can universally apply. If everyone lied all the time, there would be no trust, thus impossible to build plans for the future. If everyone stole, no one would own anything. Another Kant quote, act in such a way that you always treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never simply as a means, but always at the same time as an end. We are all special, God's children. To treat people as a means is self-serving and damaging to others, making us no better than wild animals. With that last quote, take note on the use of logic. He says, act in way A or B, not C and D. Notice the not only applying to C. Not in logic is basically opposite. That's a complicated argument in one sentence. We have to accustom our mind and ears for the syntax. This is Kant's most famous work, Critique of Pure Reason, 600 pages of this dense language, and the book I say taught me 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. Our philosophy book says Kant is arguably the greatest philosopher of the last 300 years. And at this point, I want to make the note that not lie is one of Moses' commandments. We often don't realize the religious foundation our world is built on. Kant is born into 1700s Germany. They are Christian. The world around him was built on Christian ethics, and it's like water to fish. They're swimming in it. The ideas he believes are without if, I would claim, had generations of people enforcing the if in order to build the society they had, and the great-grandkids take those lessons for granted. While we're talking about Kant, I want to throw out more quotes to give people a better idea of his mind. On loving another, taken by itself, it is a degradation of human nature, for as soon as a person becomes an object of appetite for another, all motives of moral relationship cease to function. because as an object of appetite for another, a person becomes a thing and can be treated and used as such by everyone. Believing that a lover is an object of desire and no longer a person, then they will be treated as an object. Kant never married and had no kids. Next, two things move the mind with ever increasing admiration and awe, the oftener and more steadily we reflect on them: the starry heavens above and the moral law within. He was very much an ivory tower philosopher, valuing thinking above experience. Now, are you ready? We've got math. The numbers are 7, 2, 6, and 2. So what I would do is 7 plus 2 equals 9. 9 times 2 is 18, and 18 plus 6 is 24. So I like this one because I'm often looking to make the numbers smaller, trying to get to our famous 6 times 4, but in this one, it has us enlarging the numbers. Final thought: when moving forward, be conscious of those behind. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a nice day. Goodbye.